Welcome to our book club discussion. This week we are talking about the No BS Sales Success book by Dan S. Kennedy, one of our very favorite people, and I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, he's actually, besides being a good author and a good marketing person, he's a very interesting guy to talk with.
Yeah, exactly. So, disclaimer, we're part of one of Dan S. Kennedy's marketing mastermind groups and continue to be part of different things going on at the GKIC organization, which is one of his companies. So we like most of what he does. We don't always like his style.
Speaking for yourself.
Exactly. And we've done a lot of different things with different members of that group, and it's a lot of fun. So first of all, let's talk about first impressions about the book. I know some of the folks in our group that I've talked to are not crazy about Dan Kennedy and not crazy about his style. And, you know, there's a lot of what he talks about that would be more appropriate for different markets than business aviation.
Yeah, well, you might say that, but on the other hand, you cannot argue with success.
That is true. And actually, I think most of the systems that he sets up and most of the techniques that he recommends, he has really good data, and we've never gone wrong when following one of his formulas. We may need to tweak some of the style and, you know, do some things a little bit differently because aviation is different than the rest of the world, of course.
Sure, but the people that say blatantly, I'm not going to do that because I don't like his style, I say, well, that's okay. Do you want to make money or do you not?
Exactly. Once again, in marketing, it's not always about what you like, it's about what works.
Exactly.
And that's one of the biggest takeaways, I think, that I've learned from Dan Kennedy is the difference between what they call direct response marketing and brand marketing. And most of the marketing that's been done in the aviation industry that we've seen has been brand-based marketing, which is kind of the shiny, glossy, beautiful, look at me, this is my company, here's a picture of a beautiful plane, you should do business with us for no particular reason other than the fact that we're just cool, you know? Direct response marketing, on the other hand, has very specific offers. And for smaller companies, especially in aviation, where you've got small to medium-sized companies that don't have a huge budget but need to look like they do, I think the direct response is a lot more targeted and a lot more measurable, which is really important to our customers, right?
That should be important to almost everybody except the guy selling the widget for 50 cents for $1 billion, get in, get out.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we've got a limited audience in aviation. We've got very smart customers in aviation. You know, all of that adds up to, you know, the more targeted, the better. So it's really worth doing the extra effort to do targeting. So as far as the book itself goes, I thought this was one of the easier ones, or faster to read anyway, of the 12 that we've been doing this year. Would you agree?
Well, it was for me, but then Dan and I think a lot alike. So, and it was a rehash of stuff that I know that you do. Maybe a little different style, but you do all this stuff. So it was just like, yeah, you do that.
I knew that. Okay. So nothing really new, no fabulous revelations or anything.
I don't recall anything that was so new that I just sat back in my chair.
Okay. Just fun ways of applying stuff that you already know. And that's always useful as well. So, you know, this time, and this we were reading during August, you know, the hottest month of the year. So, you know, summer reading is a good thing.
Actually, the one that I hadn't considered was the dumbest things that salespeople do, but we'll get to that.
Absolutely. Okay. And again, I really like a lot of the humor that he puts into his work. And he will tell you that teachers make less than entertainers. So no matter what it is that you do or what it is that you sell, if you can be entertaining, that's 1,000 times better than just being educational. So anyway, but we'll get to that. And that's just basically on style. So first of all, page 16, this is one of the first chapters in the book, The Positive Power of Negative Preparation. I think most sales folks do way too much of what we call winging it, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They just show up. They think their product's going to sell itself. They, think all they have to do is read the product sheet, and the customer is just going to see the sense in it and come to the profound revelation that all their life they've been doing things wrong, and change their way of doing things, change their business model and everything else to accommodate your product, right?
Which never happens.
Which never happens. In fact, we just had a conversation with a client today talking about the difficulty and how everybody underestimates the difficulty of making people change their behavior, even if you can prove that your product is going to make their life easier.
You have a better mousetrap, but so what?
Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to try your new mousetrap unless you can absolutely get their attention and then convince them.
Yeah, because they're all going to say, well, I have a mousetrap, it's already working.
Yeah, so I really don't care about your mousetrap.
Why should I have a better one?
Yeah, I'm not in the market for a mousetrap. Right, exactly. What I like about this is kind of the dichotomy of Norman Vincent Peale on one side, the positive thinking can overcome any obstacle, versus the Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will, right? Mm-hmm. You actually saw the statue of Eddie Murphy, didn't you?
Not a statue, but there's in the Air Museum at Hill Air Force Base, there is I don't know, what do you call it, the thing that sticks up with a little...
A plaque, a frieze, a memorial?
Yeah, there's a plaque right on the on a post there. It's got its own little stall. Talks about Captain Ron Murphy. I don't know if it's Edward Murphy, but I think I thought it said Ron, but maybe not. Huh. But he was actually working in a laboratory, and that's where he came up with it, because in his lab, it didn't matter what he did. To make everything work, he always had to go do the wrong things first. Then he found out all the things that could go wrong before they got...
Yep.
And it's a nice little story there about him, and
how he came up with the Murphy's Law, which is anything that can go wrong will. So what this really amounts to is, if you are a salesperson, you can use both of these things to your advantage. If you can brainstorm ahead of time, what could go wrong in this sales presentation? What are the objections that people might bring up? Obviously it costs too much. It's going to take too long to put into production. We're already happy with what we've got. All of the different things that people could tell you, and you want to take those very seriously, and you want to come up with a solution for each of those before you get in the room with your customer.
You need to know their processes and how the company works with respect to your product. Mm-hmm. Hell, even Patton.
Yeah.
He what was the
guy?
He
read Rommel's book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, I've got you.
Yeah. And then after the battle, he told him, I read your book. Right. You have to know, and it's not that the customer is your adversary, but you have to know as much as you can about them so that you're not wasting their time. I think unprepared salespeople are the bane of the existence of every executive in the aviation industry, right?
Well, not just aviation, but yes, aviation for sure.
Right. You don't want to waste anybody's time. And this is how you avoid it, is you use Murphy's Law, way ahead of time, and you think of all the possible things that could go wrong, or that people could object to, and then you use positive thinking to come up with ways around each of them.
And you research the company you're going to sell to. Don't just go into the call without knowing anything about them. Right.
And this is whether you're doing a sales presentation in person or on the phone, or
doesn't matter.
Right. Even the first time you talk to somebody, there is no excuse to not have Googled their company and read the About Us section of their website, and have a clue, right?
Exactly.
But you wouldn't believe the number of people that call us that don't even know what we do, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting, because I don't even know how they get our phone number if they don't at least go to the website.
Right. Exactly, or that's as far as they get. Okay. Here's one that has happened to me more than once. Remembering why you're there. So, especially if you're doing a public speaking event or lunch with a client or something like that, it's real easy, if you like people and if you like your topic, to get completely carried away and forget to close the sale.
As a matter of fact, we were talking to a guy in Wisconsin. This happened a couple of years ago, and I was on the phone with him, and we just got carried away and enjoying each other's conversation and the topic we were talking about. And He said, fine. He said, let's cut to the chase. What do I have to do to make this happen?
Exactly.
He said that, not
Right.
me.
And
I said, give me your credit card number. And he gave it to me, and we made it.
Carried on from there. Exactly.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, especially if you're speaking to a group, you have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And if you've got an hour, you're going to have to watch the clock, and make sure that you're covering the key points and that you're actually doing the steps required to close the sale, whatever that is, whether that's selling the next appointment or selling, getting a commitment on something or getting to the next step in your sales process. So you can't just enjoy each other's company, and you can't just entertain a crowd. You have to actually remember why you're there. There's a great story in the book about how I think it was actually Dan Kennedy was giving a presentation, and people were laughing and crying and getting into it, and having a wonderful time, and gave him a standing ovation and everything. And he was on the flight home with before he remembered, oh my goodness, number one, I didn't sell anything, and number two, I forgot to pick up the product. So he had to have it mailed back to him from the convention center. Because he was just basking in the glory of...
And that was early on in his career.
Of a successful presentation. And it doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter how much they like you. It doesn't matter how, fabulous the presentation is. And it does, in the sense that, now people have a positive opinion that they're carrying forward, and the next time they meet you, they're going to come to your presentation. But if you're not selling, you can go out of business pretty quick.
Having a good time.
Yeah, because you spent a lot of money to be there.
Yes.
You can only do that so many times before you run out of cash. So, you want to make sure that you're taking people to the next step in your sales process, whatever that is. And it might be a baby step. It might be just put your card in a fishbowl for a drawing, or download an app, or, whatever it is, download something free.
Or sign
Click
up for
this
a call
link.
slot. I've got these available.
Exactly. Make an appointment. Whatever the next step in your sales process is. So, my advice is, number one, make that small, especially if you're doing selling to a crowd. The first or second time that you do it, you want to make sure that, you make that a baby step that you're asking people to do. Whatever that call to action is, make sure there is one, and make sure that it's small and not daunting for you to deliver and not daunting for them to do, right?
Had that not happened to me a couple of years ago, I would have looked at this and said, you got to be kidding.
I know. I would never do that.
But, and I know a lot of you folks out there are going to look at that and say, yeah,
I'm smarter than that.
Well, I'm here to tell you, it happened to me, and I was lucky because the prospective client said, fine. I said, but how do I make this happen? I said, to myself, I said, I said, what you got to do is...
He bailed you out.
Yeah. That's right. You give me your credit card number and we're on the way. And he did, and we did, and it worked.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so thing number one, don't get carried away. All right, the next item we wanted to talk about was the chapter on proof, being the most important tool in the sales process. Now, a lot of people think all I have to do is just show people the data and say, my product is better than what you're using now. The decision is falling off a log. It's obvious, right?
Falling off a log's easy, but the decision not.
Exactly. There's no such thing as falling off a log.
Not when it comes to sales.
It is really, really hard to change people's behavior. So,
and this slide is absolutely dead on.
Yep.
You can have testimonials, pictures, charts, and graphs, and so forth, but you need to go beyond that and have overwhelming proof, is what Kennedy calls it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that is just almost not sufficient.
Right. In fact, a lot of clients come to us and they say, well, I've already got some customer testimonials, and, our answer is you need more. And you need more specific ones, and you need ones that are specific to each situation that you're selling in. His saying, overwhelming proof is barely sufficient. When we send a new customer packet to people, it has a full page of testimonials from different people, and also a video CD of an interview with a happy customer. It's got a case study that's like a 2-page, 3-page printed case study that's nicely printed. all of that stuff goes out in a new customer information package or a new prospect information package. And we're always looking to add things to that package, because that's when people are looking for, how do I compare this marketing company with every other marketing company that I'm looking at, right?
And even with our current clients, sometimes we want them to use a particular marketing channel, and we say that, well, they've got a client that sold a business jet using this channel.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, I don't sell business jet. Yeah, but you know what? If you can sell a business jet in this channel, we can certainly sell your product there.
Right. So, again, if we have those in writing and we have those, that we can send to people, that's ideal. So we're always looking for more. And every time somebody says something nice to us, we send them an email saying, do you mind if we use that in our marketing material? That's a really good way to capture a testimonial and say, you said this about using our product. Do you mind if we use that with your name and company? It also provides a link to your company from our webpage. There's some benefit to you because, you're getting more visibility for your brand. Lots of reasons that people want to do that for us and, also for our clients. So pictures, of course, worth 1,000 words, right?
Yeah, and when you think about that, if pictures are worth 1,000 words, do you realize what a video would do? A
Right.
video is 30 pictures per second.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you're talking about proof, having a before and after picture, that really helps people cement in their mind, okay, well, this is what they did for somebody else. This is what they could do for me. That shows the proof that you're looking for. Product demos that are on video, those are a great way to prove this is how our product works. And once again, you're going to need more than one thing, because everybody knows, smoke and mirrors and very fine wires. Everybody is so suspicious nowadays.
Yep.
Of everything, even video. So, you're going to want to have all of this, testimonials, pictures, and charts and graphs. Tannis Aircraft Products actually does a really good job of this. They show, the heat maps of engines using their components, using their preheat products. And they show the charts and graphs because they are really, really, really nerdy engineering people, and I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, but if you need preheat stuff, you don't go to anybody else.
Absolutely. They are the people to go to because they have all the data, they've done all the third-party testing, and they can provide all that proof. And they do it in a really nice visual format because they've done the work to collect the data and then also to provide it in really nicely visual charts and graphs, right?
Yep, and they do research in the coldest spots in the world.
Yeah, like, what was it, Sitka, Alaska,
Yeah,
where they sent a bunch of planes and did a bunch of stuff. It was really cool. Very cool.
Cold.
Cold. Right. So, another thing that I really like is kind of the hyperbole, where they test things in crazy places. Like, you've seen the infomercials where they take a screen door and they paint it with this stuff, this waterproof paint or whatever, and then they put it in the bottom of a boat and they sail across the lake, If you can find a way to do that with your product, think of the most ridiculously visual example of how your product could be used. And you can, the weirdest idea is probably the best one. As far as, creating some kind of visual proof that your product is the best and does what you say it does.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you want to be overwhelming with that, and don't ever think you have enough, because more is always better.
More is always better in marketing.
Right, exactly. All right, another chapter I wanted to draw your attention to, and the reason we do this is because we know people are really busy, and a lot of these books have stuff that is sort of relevant to aviation, and some of it's more relevant to retail. So we kind of highlight 6 things in each book that we read, or 6 or 8 things that are really relevant to business aviation, right?
Yep.
And lead generation advertising is something that is used a lot in the rest of the world. You've seen this all over the internet, where people ask you to download a white paper or get a free trial of this or that or the other thing. And, that's what we call lead generation advertising, where they offer something in exchange for your information. Now, this was new about 5 years ago, and nobody was doing it. in the aviation industry especially. Still, aviation kind of is tailing retail a little bit, so it's not as overdone in aviation as it is in the rest of the world. In fact, I've noticed some of the other aviation marketing companies are now using lead generation advertising themselves, and they have some downloadable things and other kinds of things. So they're catching up. We've been doing this for
Since we've been here.
since we've been here, which is since 2009, right?
Somewhere between 6 and 9.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, a lot of them are now catching up to the fact that having a lead magnet is a really good way to do a two-step sales process. And since we're not doing retail, these are not impulse buys.
No.
It's going to be at least two steps to the sale. So having some kind of a lead magnet, and we've got a tip sheet that you can download from our website with 17 call to action ideas or 17 different lead magnets. And that includes, things like free consultations, videos, tip sheets, checklists, templates. There's lots of ways to do this depending on what kind of a company that you have, right?
Yes.
But this is what we call inbound marketing, where people come to you. So if you've got a sales team, do you want them spending their time beating the bushes and dialing for dollars and going through the phone book or the NBAA directory and calling every single company of this type? Or do you want to have them spending their time with people who have specifically requested a white paper from you?
Mm-hmm.
That's a question.
Oh, say it again. Sorry, the audio got crazy. I was there.
Okay. Do you want to have your sales team? Let's say that you have a sales team and they're making $50 an hour, just to make the math easy, sitting in a room. Do you want those people beating the bushes and going through the NBAA directory and dialing every business type that's your target customer? Or do you want them responding to people who have downloaded a particular white paper on the specific topic of the thing that you sell?
Well, anybody that's in step 2 is a warm lead, and they're a lot more interested in what's going on.
Exactly.
So it makes it a lot easier to connect with and discuss your product and or service.
Right. So those salespeople who are making money, making phone calls or responding to leads, their money is going to be a much better investment for you if they're responding to warm leads than cold leads. If they're beating the bushes, right?
As a matter of fact, sometimes we get salespeople that will looking to change jobs, and they will tell their people to talk to us because they don't want to work for them if they don't have inbound marketing.
Exactly. The best salespeople will demand a steady flow of leads, to work with, because they know that that's going to increase their income, because
it's going to increase sales. Everybody wins if you do that.
Their probability, right, for every single minute that they spend on the phone. If it's with a warm lead, they have a 50% better chance of making the sale. And it varies depending on the product, but
we didn't keep track of all the times those guys called us. We should have. That would have been an interesting statistic.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have. That's one thing. We never wish that we had measured less.
Right.
Things, we've got spreadsheets for everything, and then we're always finding things that we wish we had measured. But absolutely, inbound is far preferable to outbound, which doesn't mean that you shouldn't do both.
Oh yeah.
Because in some cases you've got a product that is so new or so innovative or whatever that you do have to make the first contact and maybe offer your lead magnet. So it's easier to make a cold call and say, hi there, we have a checklist for companies like yours on how to save money doing X, Y, or Z. That's a much easier call than, hi there, buy my product that you've never heard of, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So making things easier for your salespeople is actually making things better for your company.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Your favorite part of the book, right?
Well, that's my favorite, but it was something I hadn't considered that people do.
Uh-huh.
And everybody knows that you are the summation of the 5 people you hang out with most often throughout life.
Yep.
And
So the 6 dumbest things that salespeople do to sabotage themselves, and
Yeah,
just
it's in the book on number 3. It says no additional commentary needed.
Right, exactly. So if you haven't read the book, number 1 is lousy follow-up, and that is absolutely true. Most people don't do nearly enough of it.
And they
2,
don't do enough of it, meaning you don't just follow up with a single phone call. You can follow up emails, phone calls. What is it, 12th to the 20th contact is when the sale's made, and most salespeople don't go even past the second.
Exactly. So, we give somebody 20 leads and they say none of them were any good. And we're like, well, what did you do with them? Well, I tried calling them. I got hold of some of them and left a message. Well, did you actually talk to anybody? Well, maybe 1 or 2. Well, that's fabulous. But, did you send an email? Did you send something in the mail?
There's all kinds of things to do to make the 12 plus contacts without being
obnoxious
overburdened and obnoxious or whatever, overbearing. Yeah, you can do it. It just takes time.
And once again, you want to be educational and entertaining, not pushy and salesy, right?
Yes.
Okay. So lousy follow-up. 2, hanging out with losers, which is what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it.
What was the saying? You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with?
That's what I said, yeah.
Yep. Where is that from? Do you know?
I don't.
Maybe somebody knows. If you happen to know, put it in the comments.
Here's an interesting stat, though.
Okay.
In virtually every sales organization, 5% make 95% of the money.
Really?
If you are wasting your time hanging around 95%ers, you get crumbs.
I always thought it was 80 and 20, but...
That's what he's saying.
Okay.
I'm reading it from the book.
Okay.
Toxic influence are less affordable than ever. You need to be mentally sharp. So you don't want to hang out with the lazy, the uncurious, the complainers and whiners. The complacents get 0.
Yep, exactly.
Find and associate only with winners.
Okay.
Only with winners.
Yep.
I can't even say that enough.
Right.
If you got to talk with somebody else because of your friend, fine, but
spend twice as much time talking to a winner to make up for it afterwards.
That's right, exactly.
Absolutely. And number 3, hanging out with losers at the bar, coffee shop.
Yeah.
And that was where you said...
There's no additional commentary.
Yeah. 4, wasting time, which is a different category of this, but it might be benign, just surfing the web, goofing around.
You're supposed to be making phone calls on your list, and rather than that, you're drinking coffee, chatting somebody. Who knows?
Getting sucked down a rabbit hole of...
you're just not doing it.
Right. And the way that I avoid that is I actually have a paper calendar, and I block out time during the workday. So there is no wasted time. And, if I want to waste time, it's on my own time, not during the workday, right? But every single bit of time during the workday is devoted to writing articles or making phone calls or, doing something, whatever that activity is. And if I can stay on task for 8 hours, then, I can reward myself with crazy cat videos on Facebook after the fact when I'm crashed on the couch, right?
And what he talks about in the wasting time section of this book is you go into any auto showroom and stand back and watch the sales guys. And you won't see very many of them really doing any good. He says the 2 car sales guys I know each earn over $200K a year. They never take a walk-in, never stand around waiting for turn. They're busy with appointments generated proactively.
Right. So you're going to pack
Same
your
thing
calendar.
on in-store clothing salespeople and so on. I mean, he tells you what it's also for.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, which is why, we have the button on our website where people can schedule an appointment. And, that's time that gets blocked. We don't usually take cold calls, people calling us saying we need marketing help. Well, that's great. Make an appointment. Let us do some research on your company. You can do some research on us. We'll send you a package of information. And then let's sit down when you're more educated and we're more educated, and we're not going to waste each other's time. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, absolutely. Number 5, not creating systems. If you're just winging it and just throwing spaghetti against the wall.
Well, you got to have a process for when a lead comes in, what you're going to do, step A, B, C, D, and so on.
Right.
It's all follow-ups in there, research is in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have a CRM
Yes.
that helps you with this.
Yep, and you can automate a lot of things in the CRM, like, send this email to new leads, giving them some information about our company, or about this particular product that they asked about, and then put them in our newsletter list so that we stay in contact with them. But even so, we started doing this year sales meetings on Mondays where John and I go over the pipeline from the CRM and figure out who needs human being attention, right? Because the CRM isn't going to do everything.
No, it's not.
Right. So we need to spend our time where it does the most good. And in some cases, we'll figure out this person needs a phone call because it's getting to the season where they're going to need to start ramping up their sales activities.
A CRM provides you with good data.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do analysis on that to get information.
Yep.
With information, you can make sales.
Make plans, yeah. And then with good plans, you can make sales.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I feel a whole lot better about that. Like, our CRM just told us this person wanted to start doing business with us again in September. And that was in April, I think, that he told us that. And if I hadn't put it in the CRM, the chances of me remembering in September that we were supposed to talk to this guy when we last talked to him in April are slim and none, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the CRM
I've had several of those actually. Will talk to me next month or the month after or whatever.
Exactly. Right. And number 6 is poor self-discipline, which kind of feeds into all the rest of this, right?
All the rest of that stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you're in sales and you don't have self-discipline, you just go find a different job.
Where somebody will tell you what to do.
That's right.
Because if you don't have self-discipline, you're going to have to find a boss who will give you self-discipline.
Yeah, either you need a sales manager to hold you accountable, or the better approach is to hold yourself accountable.
Right, exactly. Okay, another thing that works really, really well in aviation is takeaway selling. And this is on page 197. And this really is the concept of this is not for everyone, right?
Yeah, right.
Your product is different and your product is better. And not everyone is going to be interested in your product. And, you are going to want to be very specifically particular about your customers. And I love the story in the book about the real estate agent that has her assistant line up calls. She has the whole sales process choreographed to where, she only spends time with people who have done their homework, viewed a video. If they haven't done the homework, she'll have her assistant call them, confirm that they've done the homework, and if they haven't, she'll reschedule. Because she only wants to do business with people who qualify and who have filled out a questionnaire completely and have done all of the research that she wants them to do and have read the stuff that she sends them and watched the videos and everything else. And those customers, of course, are going to be more educated and they're going to be more motivated, and they're going to come in a completely different power situation than somebody who sells to everybody and who takes every call that they get.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. They just don't have time.
Right, exactly.
Maybe when you first start, you have time because nobody's calling you. But once you get a little bit of speed up and running, then there's too many phone calls to take. You need to have somebody. That's part of your process. The calls come in, somebody takes those and does the first up front.
And it cannot be. This is my opinion, right? But it is borne out by some sales data, and that is, I'd love to see more and better data on this, but I think your phone needs to be answered by a human being.
Oh, absolutely.
Not by a machine. If you are selling a product or service that is worth thousands of dollars a year, you owe it to your customers to have a human being answer the phone. And it shouldn't be you necessarily. There's lots of ways to do this. There's services that, can do intelligent triage of your phone calls. And, you can hire an assistant or a virtual assistant that doesn't even have to be at your location if you need to. Whatever you got to do to get a human being, an intelligent human being, ideally a kind, considerate, intelligent human being to answer your phone, right?
The only thing that would be that phone trees are good for is that if you've got a product that everybody wants and you don't care if you get some of the people or a small percentage of the people through the phone tree, then fine. But I don't know very many products like that.
Well, even the late night infomercials, where they're selling skin cream for $19.99 or whatever, they have a human being answering the phone. They have tried doing this automated. They've tried having people go to a website. They've tried having this be automated in some way because they save a lot of money doing that. But their sales are much better when they have a human being answer the phone. So if you think that's true for $19.99 skin cream, that is really, really true for aircraft services at thousands of dollars a month, right?
Yep.
You want your customers to feel really well taken care of, and you want to be top notch. And robots are never
top notch.
Top notch, no matter how expensive or well programmed they are. Human beings of
in
the
10
demographics.
years, we may revisit this when AI is up and running, and you can't tell a robot from a person. But right now, it's not true.
Yeah, and you look at the demographics of aviation decision makers, and they are all 40 plus, male, college educated, They are people who expect to talk to a human, and who actually still do use the phone too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so takeaway selling. I spent a lot of time on the phone, but there's also things like information packages that you want to send people and make them read before your first appointment with them. You want to have a sales choreography that makes people feel special and makes them adapt to your process. You don't adapt to their process, right? Because professionals have systems. People who are winging it are just freelancers, and they don't make nearly as much money, and they also aren't trusted nearly as much as people who actually have a system and are busy and successful and give that impression. Even if they're not quite there yet, you want to make sure that you're giving that impression at least. Right. Okay, so anything else on takeaway selling?
Nope, I think that covers the subject for the book.
Okay. All right, so final thoughts.
Well, I like his approach to selling, and you can't argue with the guy's success. I mean...
But you hate salespeople, John.
You can't argue with the guy's success.
Right.
Okay. I mean, last time we talked, to be able to consult with him personally, 6 or 8 months advance, you have to make an appointment 6 or 8 months in advance, and he gets what was it, $700,000 a day, 3-day minimum. So there you go.
Takeaway selling.
Yeah, I mean, give me a break. If he can make
Practices
that kind
what
of
he
money,
preaches.
I mean, he's got something here.
Absolutely. And like I said, we've been part of his some of his mastermind groups and other kinds of things, and they show the data. They do a really nice job.
Oh yeah. You don't go away without seeing the data.
Absolutely. And the book I highly recommend. It's kind of a nice approach, whether you if you're in sales at all, and everybody is. If you're in business, if you're a CEO of a company, your number one job should be sales, even if you are managing a sales department.
And Dan, I don't remember when he started, but he did all the wrong things. He'll be happy to tell you all the things he did wrong before he learned how to do this the right way.
Yep, absolutely.
So you may not like his style, you may not like what he says, but you can't argue with his success.
Right.
Or the success of those that do what he says.
Yep. Once again, really easy read. You can get through this in a couple of hours. Definitely worth the time. Lots of humor, lots of fun. Very irascible. He's a grumpy old fart. He'll be the first to tell you that. And very annoyed with most of the prevailing wisdom in the sales world.
Or lack thereof.
Yep.
That's called prevailing
wisdom. And lack of common sense. So yeah, it's definitely, if you like the no BS style, you'll love this book. But even if you hate this book, it's worth getting through a couple of hours of this.
Yeah, because you'll get a takeaway from something in it that you can apply.
Absolutely. Right. So those are the things that we think are particularly applicable to aviation, but I'm sure you probably have some different thoughts. If you've read the book, we'd love to hear your favorite thoughts, the parts that you thought were particularly interesting. There's some good cartoons in there. kind of making fun of the traditional sales industry and so on. All right, so next month we have the book Unmarketing, which is talking about how what's changed and what stayed the same. I love this. Everything has changed and everything is the same. Is kind of the tagline for this book. And they're absolutely right. All of the principles of sales and marketing are exactly the same as they have always been. It's still a matter of convincing people, getting attention, building credibility, and making the sale. The tools have all changed.
Oh, yeah.
Radically over the last 5 or 10 years, right?
Yep. And I suspect that the change is going to continue.
Exactly. So this is a nice one to get up to speed, especially if you've been in the sales and marketing industry or have been in sales and marketing for a while. It's a nice update with some great touches on new tools used to accomplish old objectives, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we'll be talking about that on October 4th. So if you are in our Insider Circle, please do join us. It will be fun to talk about that. And if you are not in our Insider Circle, you may want to consider joining. It's $279 a month, and you get an hour with us. That's actually the cheapest way to get consulting from us. And then you also we're just starting to do masterminds this month, where we're putting people together.
Clients together.
Our clients together in particular avenues like aircraft sales or training or whatever the topic is, that are non-competing, not directly competing with each other, but facing a lot of the same challenges so that they can work together on some things. So I'm really excited to see how this goes, because we have the smartest people in the industry as clients,
and that's no joke, by the way. These guys know more stuff than you can shake a stick at.
Absolutely, and we always learn from each other. And they've always been incredibly generous with their time and expertise with each other. And what helps other companies in the aviation industry helps the whole industry, and what helps the industry helps all of us. So I think these are very long-sighted, generous people. And if you want to be involved in that, this is a great way to get a lot of help for very little money, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so go sell more stuff.
America needs the business.
Absolutely. That's our other friend, Zig Ziglar. So have a great month, and we'll see you next time for our next book club discussion.
See you later. Ciao.